Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica, Imperialis and to today's video. Today is episode 96 of Adeptus Podcastus, and to address the elephant in the room, yes, I now have episode 100 again. And to address the other elephant in the room, yes, I'm back to health. Sorry about that, and thank you to Thunder and Rem for covering in my absence. I really do appreciate it. Joining me as always is Remleiz from 40k Theories.
Hello everyone, and I think my mic has died again, fuck's sake.
I just about caught the introduction, so it could be worse. And our special guest, returning for the first time in 14 episodes, which, when you do the maths, is actually 7 months. Ladies, gentlemen, Xenos of all ages and everything in between, I give you NornQueenAlexis.
Yo.
Yes, we've got the original trio back together one more time before the centenary, so we'll see what the comments make of this one, shall we? Right, in the news this past fortnight, because I'm not going to go back to Preview 3, even though I have thoughts on it, because I've done a separate video on that. Probably the main thing of the recent time is, as I think was discussed on the last show, the return of the Games Workshop web store. That is back online, and I think over the last couple of days, it's come back online as well for the US, Australia, and other regions. So, whilst I don't know if the entire world is back online, certainly the majority of places have now got their web store back, and I'm glad that GW feels that it is safe for their staff for them to do that by operating all the measures that they need to do, which is good to see.
It is also worth
Good
remembering,
luck trying
though, that...
to get anything.
So,
Do it once.
Oh. Sorry, go ahead, Ram.
I was just going to say, it is worth remembering that at this time, Black Library and Forge World are still offline, although on Black Library you can order ebooks and that still, so...
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, admittedly, I can understand why Forge World in particular would stay offline, because that probably is a lot less of an automated process, especially the design side of things. But yeah.
A lot of it boils down to their distribution centers are open, but their factories are not. So they're just selling what they have as backup. So a lot of things, and you'll notice this on the web store, already out of stock.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense. Either way, progress.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the global situation continues to evolve in such a way as things can start returning to as near to normality as this new era is going to give us, I suspect. But
We have murder hornets.
Hornets?
It's been a bonkers year on the outside of the hobby front, and I don't want to get into it.
Sorry, murder hornets?
Yeah, giant wasp that can kill you if they sting you about 3 or 4 times.
I know what a
These
hornet
things
is,
are-
but I'm wondering where the whole murder hornet thing came from. Are these like the Japanese hornets?
They've been around in Asia for a long time. They usually kill about 30 or so people a year, or something
are these the same ones that can make you blind if they spray from their stinger into your eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, they've somehow found their way to parts of America now, so fun!
I mean, we got them in the Channel Islands, so...
Because it definitely wasn't because people were breeding them here in America, but, you know, whatever.
I mean, people being idiots is a thing, but we're not going to get into that. I'm not going to say anything stupid.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Behave.
Get in the bin. Right. The other thing I do want to say is, I believe, were all of us part of the big collaboration get-together that was done the other week?
I didn't have time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was literally told 36 hours before upload date, hey, can you do a thing? But I will leave a link in the description to what is essentially a giant 40k/hobby YouTuber get-together voice acting lore video, which Remleiz gets his own character art in, and I got a couple of voice lines because I was very short on time and was told about 36 hours before upload. And for the people in the comments, yes, it is that person who you've been yelling at us to get on the show, and all I will say is watch this space. But enough of that. So, what else has been going on in the news and in the world of Warhammer community?
From the paunch.
Yes.
Okay,
so,
I heard that so wrong. Continue.
Really? So, for Total
I
Warhammer
heard
2...
punch. What are you thinking?
So, for Total War
Wow,
Warhammer 2, someone at Creative Assembly deserves a promotion. Because they tried, and this was probably the case before everything got thrown out of whack, to release Eltharion the Grim at the same time as the Lumineth and the Light of Eltharion, pretty much at the same time. So Total Warhammer 2 is getting a new expansion, the Warden and the Paunch, which pits the Warden of Torre Vress, Eltharion the Grim, and all-round lovely old miniature, now reincarnated as that hollow suit of armour for the Lumineth, against Grom the Paunch, the super fat goblin that nobody cares about.
Even though he's clearly more interesting than Eltharion.
Shut up, I'm a High Elves player back then.
He ate an entire tray of troll burgers and survived.
Yes, and Eltharion raided Nagaroth and survived, which is pretty bloody impressive in itself. But we're not getting into that. But they're there, and they're in Total Warhammer 2 very soon. And I really do wonder if they tried to time it with the Lumineth release since Eltharion's in there as well, in which case that person at CA... kudos point. There was / is a Humble Bundle takeover for Warhammer, which was going on with ebooks, video games, RPGs.
Oh my god, I bought all of them.
Yeah, I don't know if that will still be going on by the time this episode goes live, but it certainly was a thing last week.
Oh.
Yeah, you get to read the Deathwatch book where they quote the 1988 White Dwarf about why women can't be Space Marines, which is because of zygotes, which is the only reason that women can't be Space Marines in all of 40k fluff.
Yes, that infamous line that shall haunt us all.
Oh, speaking of...
Although, you can also get the Chaos version, the Black Crusade, which amends that and says things happen in the warp. Continue.
Hashtag the warp did it. Episode 1 reference.
Wait. I was just going to say, speaking of the Deathwatch books, do you guys see the limited edition of the core rulebook for that? Like in that big metal box? Mm-hmm. Oh my god, that thing looks gorgeous. It's a shame that it goes for like over 350 quid on eBay.
eBay scammers have been a thing since time immemorial.
I know, but it's quite an old thing now, so...
And you think that will stop them?
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, the fact that it's an entirely metal box with a big old key and chain, and that's pretty awesome touch on the designer's part.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want it, but I can't afford it.
However, if you're wanting some more modern reading, may I interest you in some of the Black Library books that were previewed quite recently? So we were shown off some books that are told from a non-imperial / non-human perspective. There was Brutal Cunning by Mike Brooks, which is the
first novel told entirely from an orc perspective.
Yeah, so there's the Guy Haley audio dramas and his novella, and Brooks himself has done a short story starring the same character, Uthak Blackhawk. Sorry. But...
Well, I'm wondering, because this is the fifth book in the Orc's perspective?
Yes, it's a separate series to the Guy Haley ones, but it's the fifth story starring the Orcs as protagonists that we're aware of.
All I want to say is this. In the book the audio drama, Prophets of the Wa, the Orcs explain the AdMech better than any AdMech lore I've ever seen.
Are you able
and they
to
explain it? Oh my god, you know what? Hang on, I will message my buddy and he will get back to me as soon as I can for the AdMech quote. I think I've
cut out again.
And you're back again.
Because I didn't hear it, because everything just went silent for several long minutes.
You are dying a lot. Sorry, technical difficulties. But yes, whilst Alexis goes digging for the Prophets of War, quoting how to do AdMech, I also want to point out that there are moments where the Orcs get to be like the focus of a chapter. So like I'm going to call back to Farsight Empire of Lies. The chapters there with Grog and Badrook are easily some of the favourite chapters I've ever read. And Badrook actually appears in this book. the world of Hephaesto, a forge world covered in loot, is under siege from Badrock and Black Hawk's group under the biggest big mech as they try and work together and also, loot stuff. So it seems like a very much orky book with plotting, stabbing, smashing, and hopefully lots of jokes. So I'm looking forward to that one. And if I get round to it, and also I love the art style, the cover art, because it's such a cartoon, it's almost a comic book style art, which you don't see very often for 40k novels, at least, where they get this cartoon style cover art.
It looks like it's heavily inspired by Sarah Kaiser's work. She does amazing art for GW.
It's impressive in any event. Yeah, I can't say that name that jumps out at me. I feel like I should know it, but I don't. But it's definitely impressive.
You know all those community pictures of all the different Xenos races, like holding books and reading together?
Oh, yeah.
That's her.
Got you. Right. That's a better reference point. Thank you. The other Xenos novel we were shown is a Necrons novel, The Infinite and the Divine, which, as the title suggests, pits Orican the Diviner against Trazyn the Infinite. So it talks
about... I hope they make this interesting, because all the Necrons lore is so bad.
So the back cover goes as roughly follows. When they inhabited bodies of flesh, Trazyn and Orican were polar opposites. Trazyn, a collector of historical oddities, and Orican, a chronomancer without peer. But when an artifact emerges that may hold the key to the Necron's next evolution, these two enter a multi-millennia game of cat and mouse that ends civilizations, reshapes timelines, and changes both forever. So as riddles unwind and secrets are revealed, will their feud save the Necron race or destroy it? So this may be the book with the longest timeline from earliest point in which the book has a focus to latest point in which the book has a focus that we've ever seen, quite possibly. We'll be going back all the way to the Necrontyr era here.
Hang on, doesn't it say in the article just underneath that screenshot it takes place from the end of the Horus Heresy onwards?
Oh, right, yeah, it does. I just need to scroll down about 2 feet.
In all fairness, it probably does have flashbacks to the Necrontyr.
That's true, yeah. That's fair enough.
So
I'm wondering how long it will be when people will be reading that book and just thinking, just kiss already, you two.
Well, I mean, it's Trazyn. I accidentally... if you guys played Battlefield Gothic 2...
No, my computer can't run it.
Okay, so funny thing about that. In Battlefield Gothic 1, I played that game so much, I have well over 2,000 hours on it. In Battlefield Gothic 2, I have about a few hundred hours in it. But one of the devs over at, oh my god, I cannot remember who made it, but they based Trazyn off of a flamboyant man. And it was the best thing ever, because that's exactly how I depicted Trazyn.
Yes, I remember when Gathering Storm came out, you did describe Trazyn as, and I quote, the gay best friend. The gay best friend. Yes, I remember that. So,
and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, by the way. So
no, it's not. It's absolutely not. Do not get that idea across at all. Shut up. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's the same author who wrote War in the Museum, which was also a Trazyn short, I believe. I don't know quite how that one went.
He's also a writer for Extra Credits as well. You know, the YouTube show. He's also a writer for the YouTube show Extra Credits.
Yeah.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah. No, it's actually, I do like, well, one thing that I hate about the Necron lore is that they keep retconning it. Every edition of Necron lore is a retcon to the previous one.
It's utterly convoluted.
Yeah, 5th edition is the one I termed the Great Necretcon, but...
The best one, in my opinion, is still the Necron 3rd edition Codex, which will, hands down, always be the best written 40k lore for a Codex. But when they retconned them all the way at 8th edition, where they said the Silent King no longer has his Servior protocols, So
that's the savior protocols being cut goes back to 5th, I think.
No. The serving protocols, where the Necron race is no longer bound to serve him. They serve him strictly out of respect.
That's 5th edition. He cut the protocols before we left. I remember that.
Oh, okay. So then they expanded that, but I read that in a White Dwarf a couple of months ago. I have it on my shelf. But
yeah, that was a great White Dwarf. I remember me and Rem having a massive debate while Scarlett was recording it and crying as we suggested that the Silent King created the Tyranids.
Well, they didn't create the Tyranids. The Tyranid Codex goes into more of their birth and what they are. Tyranids are the ultimate evil in the galaxy. But before anybody says that they're just animals eating, Tyranids don't need to eat. They don't need to eat to sustain their bodies. They only eat to replicate. But aside from that, I like that the Silent King in 8th edition now views the Tyranids as the greatest threat to the galaxy, even to the point of allying with smaller races to fight against them. And now that he's seeking out different ways of... He wants to protect the younger races now, because he wants them to develop technology so that he can undo the mistake he did to his people. I
thought that issue White Dwarf stated that. I thought that White Dwarf said he wants to maintain the biological integrity of the younger races in order to find a way to effectively reverse the biotransference. Not necessarily because he wants to protect the races. He's looking to protect the Necrons above all else.
They're a means to an end.
I also thought that the allying with younger races, Tyranids are the big problem, goes back to the infamous Ward novel where the Silent King, or the Ward writing where the Silent King and Dante teamed up. That's old lore, I think. Or is that changed?
That was 5th edition Grey Knight era Matt Ward lore. That was retconned. It's still similar, but the Necrons did ally with them, did defeat the Tyranids, and did study the Blood Angels' fighting styles and everything.
Yeah,
but aside from
Cryptus
that...
as well. They fought together at Cryptus, didn't they?
Yes, but the Necrons tend to just leave when they need to. And they did meet the Silent King. The Silent King did have the death mass of Sanguinius, and actually showed great respect to Sanguinius, which infuriated the Blood Angels. The Blood Angels did load up a cyclonic torpedo or a planetary devastation device within a Rhino and drove it up, which I thought was really funny. And the Necrons knew about it the entire time.
Of course they did.
But I like that the Necrons are both, in 8th edition, I like what they did with the lore, where they're both the murder robots of the Tefnut dynasty, and then you have the other dynasties, which aren't inherently evil. Some of them are good. Some of them are strictly just defender protocols that have no free will whatsoever. And the Imperial Guard used them as target practice to fight Necrons, which I thought was one of the funniest bits of lore. And that's from the Necron 8th edition Codex. They're so predictable that the Imperial Guard go to the planet every year to train to fight against them.
When people think the Imperium is incompetent. But yeah, it is interesting.
It is incompetent, though.
Like the evolution of the dynasties and the 5th edition Great Nec retcon, where they introduced the idea of Necrons having personalities. Like, I think it was a logical progression for the Necrons as a race, because the problem was, I think, this is me coming as someone who didn't really know Necrons aside from Dark Crusade, is that the Necrons and the Tyranids were very at risk of becoming reskins of each other, where you have kill bots with high technology and kill bugs with bioweapons. Essentially the same thing. Slow moving, lots of troops, basically impossible to defeat, and murder everything in their way for no discernible reason. I feel like giving the Necrons something of a personality was going to be necessary to stop them basically just being mechanical Tyranids, but not quite mechanical Tyranids. Though I do agree the 3rd edition Codex is some of the best writing, and it gives the Catan the best treatment, I think the Necrons did need something to not end up becoming bland. That might be me.
Oh, and I did get the quote from the Orc novel.
Ah, okay, fabulous, thank you.
if you want to hear it right now.
I mean, I'm down.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Cultural collapse and reorientation of belief system in the aftermath of a renaissance can provoke magical thinking in previously rational beings.
And an orc said that.
An orc said that.
Was that Talker?
And then, yes, Torka said that. And then afterwards he goes, what are you even talking about? He goes, beats me.
Nah, boys,
Prophets of the Wa is one of the top 3 best audio dramas GW's ever released.
That's high praise. That's really high praise.
Yeah, considering Celestine is on that list. Because both the book and the audio version of that, amazing.
Now then, moving on from books to miniatures, we're going to talk about the AdMech models in a moment. But
oh my god, I want them!
We'll get there. But
Not the horses! Fire-breathing puppers!
Are you just getting hyped about this now? They revealed them months ago. Like, rules-wise,
I
yes.
have been the hype.
Fair enough.
I have $500 put aside strictly to buy horses.
$500. Actually, I nearly said that would cover my rent. No, it wouldn't. But before
No, that barely covers my rent.
But before we got there, GW decided to do something different. They decided to basically put Lionel Johnson on a pedestal by having him bully all the other Primarchs in a death match.
Apart from
I mean, in all fairness, it's Lionel Johnson.
Like, I'm not saying Lion ain't good, but I was under the understanding, and please correct me 30k people in the comments who know Lion's rules better, or have a sort of a rough idea based on what we've seen of him, whether he looks any good. But I was under the understanding that Leman Russ kills everything. Unless that something is Horus, in which case Horus needs to just last until he breaks Russ's weapon, and then he stands half a chance. That was my understanding. And Lion goes on to bury Russ and bury Horus in quick succession.
So Lion has an ability that affects the stats of other characters. That's why he won.
Yeah, because he can never have his hit rolls reduced or something, right?
It's something along that line, but I know I'm spitballing here, but I think he has to be hit on 4-ups.
I think it's the opposite. He can never hit worse than a 4-up.
But even still, he is one of the best physical Primarchs that there is. A lot of Primarchs, and this is a problem in 30k, a lot of the Primarchs are just garbage.
Unless their name is Magnus, when he's just so broken. He basically, the Thousand Sons have broken the game by the sounds of it, because Magnus is so ridiculous.
30k is not a balance system at all, and I've actually suggested multiple times ways of balance patching it, and the 30k crowd does not want to hear it. They don't want to hear that the 8th edition rules for tanks are better than the 7th edition rules for tanks, where you can stun lock them. They don't want to hear that casting over 3 powers is absolutely busted, especially when Magnus can cast 5.
At strength D.
Yeah. Like, Magnus whips out and rubs his nipples until the enemy explodes. And I'm not even kidding, like, the dude is nigh unstoppable, and you bring an army of Psychers using Biomancy, and you win every single game forever.
Yeah.
That's why the way to balance patch Horus Heresy would be, you can't cast more than 3 powers, we got rid of Biomancy. I can go into a huge rant about why 30k is unbalanced and everything.
But I feel like that will just get you could do that on your own channel and get all of the views. So I won't confine you to a short segment on the podcast.
I do want to say this about 30k before anybody says that I'm wrong or anything. I have 10 30k armies over 4,000 points apiece. I have played the game since its inception, and I can tell you the game is not balanced. You are aware that the game is not balanced.
I mean, no game is ever balanced. I made an entire video back in 7th edition explaining that 40k will never be balanced. And whilst 8th edition is good, in some ways, not in all ways. It's still not balanced. AOS, I love AOS to death, but it ain't balanced. No game is ever balanced when it's this complex with that many moving parts. It just never can be.
No, but the best that they can do is a 3-month update every single quarter, which I really like.
Certainly a theoretical, and we know that the big FAQs that they did for 40k, that really did help 40k in many ways.
They busted the Space Marines by giving them doctrines again.
And then the Space Marine 2.0 book came out, and then Iron Hands came out and ruined everything for a bit. I will not disagree with you. But
I did not have problems in tournaments against the Iron Hands.
I don't play enough to know. I'm just following the internet there.
Yeah, but what's funny is and I want to say this about AOS and 40k. You play demons in both. They're radically different. Demons of Slaanesh, specifically Demons of Slaanesh and Khorne, are really good in AOS. You take them to 40k. If you don't go first, you lose.
Yeah, Demons of Slaanesh in AOS, for a time, there was a point where you could just infinitely recycle your Keeper of Secrets.
Mm-hmm.
They did nerf Slaanesh. I think they nerfed them in the period around the General's Handbook. So they're not so bad now with the depravity points, but there was a point where you had infinitely respawning Keeper of Secrets. And it was very, very silly because they were stupid fast, stupid hard hitting, and could infinitely respawn. Which, whilst, okay, that's demons, it's kind of what they do. Infinitely respawning demonettes, infinitely respawning heralds, that's one thing. Infinitely respawning greater demons can go die in a fire. And as for Khorne, whilst I've never regarded Khorne as being particularly OP at any point, I find them fun, and I think they're really interesting.
Oh yeah, Khorne is strictly fun.
And I love the Blood Tithe mechanic, genuinely. I love it. And when it was in Khorne Demonkin, back in 7th edition, they had Blood Tithe. And I thought that was really cool. But
magic.
But, yeah, Khorne's really cool. But I never regarded it as OP, even though they could summon a Bloodthirster, because you had to kill 8 units to do it. So it was not even that bad, and no one used it for that, because you needed all the Deny the Witches, or the Dispels, or you needed some Flesh Hounds, or you needed anything, really, to burn all your points at once. It was good fun. Nurgle I have an issue with, but that's not my
The 7th edition Khorne list that was busted was essentially just 120 the bloodletters. Just 120 of them. Constantly summon and bomb your opponent with them.
Fair enough. Actually, since you're more minded on this, I feel I might as well ask. When I was reading Psychic Awakening 5, which is the Greater Good, I was reading the Farsight Enclave stuff and started to panic that Farsight Enclaves were about to be bonkers. Because Tower already tier, 1.5?
With strictly one build.
Yeah, I looked at all the Enclave stuff where, hey, you can have 2 commanders now. Hey, you can protect your battlesuits with rotating invulnerable saves. Hey, you can have Deny the Witch in a Tower army. And I started to think, actually, hang on, am I about to start playing the Broken Army again? Because I hate when I do that.
No,
good,
not at all.
Good,
the
good.
8 aren't. The 8 are not.
Oh,
broken.
the 8 are terrible. The 8 are terrible.
Farsight Enclave, the best thing you can do is build the same list, and it won't be as good as the regular list that's winning. You have to bring 3 Riptides, 40 drones for a Tau to even be good, and you have to be able to keep those drones out of line of sight turn 1.
You see, I went to my GW, it was a few months ago now, for a game I didn't get to play, but there was a Tau player there, and they were playing a list with 2 Burst Tides, about 60 Fire Warriors, a full Fusion Mander, a pile of drones, there was an Ethereal or 2 lying around.
And a Fireblade?
Maybe, and a couple of units of Stealth Suits. And I remember looking at the list, was there Hammerheads? No, they're out of point, I think. But it was just a list I looked at, I was like, God. Because I'm one of those people who doesn't play Tau Gunline. I hate playing Tau Gunline. I hate playing Tau where they are not hypermobile and drop in, smash stuff, move on. I'm one of those. I'm a bit of an alpha striker with my Tau because I love the Farsight bomb. When that was a thing, but it is weird to just look at just what was considered a semi-decent Tau list, not like tier 1 Tau list because obviously we don't play tournament level here, but just a semi-decent take-all Tau list, and just looking at it with disgust because it's like, this just makes my skin crawl. And I'm sat there with Farsight, Shadow Sun, and Breaches in Devilfishes, and now I've got Tide Walls. Just thinking, right, I'm just going to meme on people with Tide Walls and Farsight bombs, and then everyone else is just going to beat me, and I'm going to be sad, but I'm going to have fun doing it anyway.
Well, Tau did get a buff that makes their normal suits good, their burst suits really good. I personally, when I play my Tau, I use the hazard close support units off of Forge World.
Oh, the XV9s, yeah.
The XV32 hazard close support unit. The one with the 6 burst cannons.
Oh.
They were terrible. They're absolutely terrible. I have 6 of them. I love them to death. I think they are the coolest looking hazard unit there is. And in my opinion, they are the best Tau Gundam ever. Because they get away from the mech warrior look of the normal Tau and actually fully embrace the Gundam look, which I like. And I just love that they're called hazard close support units.
Yeah,
it has a Gundam feel to it, and I don't even like anime.
Yeah, if there was one Tau Forge World unit I wanted to buy, and this is because of what it did to me, is the XV10... is it 7? I think it's the XV107, the Yavara. The Doom Flamers. Because, like, for me as a Farsight player, like, that is such a thing to do. Just drop in a giant Riptide scale suit with Doom Flamers. Like, it's Sub-Commander Torchstar's wet dream.
Yeah, I gotta actually get for my Tau. I have 3 of those planned and 3 of the regular Riptides. But so far, my Tau army is just Gundams because I bought like 60 battle suits.
Hey, I mean, I was going to play no Fire Warriors all suits for a while back when the Dawnblade contingent was a thing, and you didn't have to take Fire Warriors to play a Farsight Enclave Takurian. That sadly is gone now, and I have to play troops, and now I'm sad.
You don't have to. You can actually take Vanguard detachments and just take elites.
Well, yes, but you don't get half the command points, and you can't do all the cool stratagems where you get to blow stuff up. So here we are. Anyway,
power gamer here.
I'm talking about the cool stuff.
I'm just kidding. Don't worry.
But anyway, we've been rambling about Tau for far too long, and they got very distracted. Adeptus Mechanicus.
There is not enough rambling about Tau. I'm just saying Tau have amazing lore. Their military might is greater than most armies in 40k. They have a bigger territory than the Eldar. Shut up and stop saying that they're a small empire. I'm not talking to you guys, obviously. And unlike everybody else in 40k, the Tau took on 3 hive fleets at once and won.
But they're communist weebs, so no one cares.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they represent the greater good, so they're weebs and don't fit into the 40k aesthetic, even though 40k is pushing them towards destruction, which is even better. Which I personally like, that they take in their aliens, you join us or die, is their mantra now, and I love it.
Well, with the 4th sphere, it's you join us and die. So...
Yeah, because they're killing all the psychic attuned races.
The 4th sphere have now no longer got auxiliaries for that exact reason. But let us talk of, well, since we mentioned them earlier, the Adeptus Mechanicus, because we've got to look at some of their new abilities that are coming their way. So, for example, the Sulphur Breath that the horse, dog, thingamabobs, whatever you call them, the Cerberus Sulphur Hounds have got, are pistol flamers with AP -1. Which means that you can fire them in melee, and thus I'm flipping terrified of them.
So I do want to say this about the new AdMech stuff. In no way, shape, or form is this taken off of Dune. In fact, nothing from 40k is taken off of Dune, especially not the Emperor, the Primarchs, the Religion, the Chaos, pretty much everything. These are totally unique and very reimagined things that are strictly for 40k and never appeared in Dune.
Okay, we get the point.
Yeah, it's literally an ornithopter in the mechanical horses from Dune.
But
Also, I love the cowboy aesthetic. I love that the Gene Stealer cult and the Mechanicus are the cowboys.
it's a thing. I don't. Looking at the weapons, I don't feel like they're. Well, I don't know if they're nuts. They don't feel like they're nuts. They just feel sort of
Now.
solid, depending on the points cost.
What if I told you that they can be absolutely broken depending on your build?
Of course they can. Everything can, with the possible exception of like Dark Eldar.
If you talk to Skari, he'll tell you differently.
Yeah. After episode 7, I have not spoken to Skari.
I talk to him a lot. I love him. He's a great guy. Anyway, jokes aside and junk like that. The thing that you have to bring to make them good is a Daedalogis, an Archaeotech, as well as Belisarius Call, which is in every single AdMech list, which is those 3 plus a few Skitarii plus like 90 Castellan robots with double guns.
And now
Which
I'm
is-
sad.
Which is the scariest gun line in all of 40k from a single solid faction. Because their damage output per bot is 132.
What?
I think they're beat out by the Centurions at 138 damage. Yeah, they're insane.
Bloody hell. Bloody hell.
But what I do like about these horses is they get rid of one of the major weaknesses that the AdMech have, which is they have no close combat units because their assassins suck. They're absolute garbage. You don't even bring them. You bring them to kill team. They're fun in kill team. They're bad in everything else. But these new mecha horses, what they allow you to do is they allow you to create a buffer zone between you and your opponent so that you're not going to get Alpha Strike turn 2. Which is something that the AdMech desperately needed. Though the AdMech can hold their own at mid-range combat, it's at close range that the AdMech suck. Their long range is mediocre. They have to get to midfield before they're super good.
Fair enough. Well, it'll be interesting to see how things develop once the new models are in people's hands and they get a chance to tinker with and exploit them. Should be interesting.
It's my husband's army, so I constantly look for different strategies for him.
Fair dues. Fair dues. And also, hopefully, Remleiz is alive.
My internet keeps dying, and it's really annoying.
Yeah,
Just like my emotional state.
we just kept going because we didn't know if you were there. So,
It's
sorry.
I can't know a bit of my internet's playing up, but I just blame it on Discord. It's all Discord's fault. Fuck it.
Okay, if I'm allowed one more bit of gameplay before we get to the lore, I want to talk very quickly about the Light of Eltharion, because it's my channel and I can do what I want. So this model, we got to see some of its rules and its weapons, and so on the charge, this thing has got, let's see, how does it go? 4 attacks that are 2s, rend 3, damage D3, and 2 attacks that are 2s, 3s, rend 1, damage D3. Oh, so 2s. Sorry, it's even worse. And if you score a 6 to wound, then you do a mortal wound on top. And if you score a 6 to hit, you score 2 hits instead. Also, you are ethereal with a 3-up save and 7 wounds. You are also a Stonehorn, so all missile and melee weapons, not magic, but missile and melee weapons do half damage to you, which means that, oh, you want to smash me with a monster, good luck with that. It's hilarious, it's bonkers, and he is the ultimate tanky beatstick for an elf, which is weird, because elves are supposed to be smashy and squishy, but no, 7 wounds, ethereal, half damage, 3-up save. Yeah, right, I'm done now.
Every twink needs a bear.
Anyway. So,
I'm sorry.
Rem, if you're alive, I believe you may have had a chance to finish or start a new book.
Yes, I finally managed to get round finishing Saturnine, so consider this your spoiler warning.
Okay, entering the spoiler zone. So, just for anyone, very quickly, is there anything that they need to know that's going to explain this ending from earlier in the book?
Basically, it ties into events that took place in Solar War, because the ending of this book is basically linking to what happened to the Phalanx, because the Phalanx was sent away from Terra briefly to keep it safe in order if it needs to come back to Terra to whisk the Emperor away. So, with that in mind, at the end of Saturnine, we cut to the Phalanx, and they discover a ship on the horizon. It's like, who is it? We're not going to announce which side we're on, we're just going to say, who are you? Lo and behold, it's a Dark Angel ship under the command of Corswain en route to Terra.
Right. So
Wait,
we have
Saturnine. That's a new book. Because I'm still
Siege 4.
reading. Yeah, I'm still reading that one. That's the one with the Primarch's mother, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we should have asked if you were actually okay with spoilers. Oops.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
So
A spoiler doesn't ruin anything for me.
So we have Dark Angels at the siege.
Well, at least
And we
en
haven't-
route to the siege.
And we haven't broken a single gate yet.
No.
Or have the or does so where are we in terms of the Siege of Terra timeline wise when the book ends? Obviously that's what's happening with the Phalanx, but where's the siege at?
Well, Fulgrim's decided to fuck off at this point.
Okay, so the Administratum's going to burn in the next book. Good to know.
Yeah. Funny enough, it's pretty much because Rogel Dawn beat the shit out of him so hard that Fulgrim threw a tantrum and decided to go home.
In all fairness, Fulgrim realized that Angron ruined the entire plan.
Yeah.
Because Angron was like, yeah, I'm going to go attack the Imperial Palace. And everybody's like, well, no, wait. Did he just go in there? He did. At least I have a chicken.
And there's the bit where the Sons of Horus go like, hey, we found this weak point in Perturabo. Maybe if you can have, the Mournival strike at it. We just need some, a little bit of backup to, to cover our surgical strike. Okay, the Emperor's children are going to help you. Oh, how many of them? All of them.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Is that a lack of trust in the Emperor's children or a lack of trust in the Sons of Horus?
Well, if you read the Heresy series, the Emperor's children are the best tacticians. It's crazy to think about, actually.
Yeah, I remember, obviously, Perturabo having that conversation with Abaddon where he says, who do you need to crack this siege? The Lunar Wolves. So I didn't know if that Perturabo has so little faith in the Sons of Horus to crack the siege and crack this surgical strike that he sends the Emperor's children, or he thinks the Emperor's children are so incompetent that he has to send all of them to get the job done. I don't know, because Perturabo is that petty.
Perturabo is extremely petty.
Well, what is interesting, though, is, for most of it, Fulgrim's in his Flacabet and his human form for most of the battle, and then he turns into his, demon snake form after Rogel Dawn beat the shit out of him.
So,
Also, can we talk about the fact that Rogel Dawn has bodied 3 Primarchs?
Alfarius, Fulgrim, and...
Alfarius again. I'm counting it as 2 people, because we don't know if that was the other Alfarius.
Okay, fair enough. I was wondering where you were going with that. Yeah. Dawn is, low-key powerful, just no one thinks about it because, he just sends 2...
He's still the bitch boy of Nathaniel Garrow. Just saying.
Plus, there was that one time when Comrade Kurz beat the shit out of Rogel Dawn as well.
Also that.
And Comrade Kurz got his shit kicked in by Lion.
Which suggests that Kurz could beat Fulgrim in a fight.
Well, when it comes down to an actual fight, one-on-one, Fulgrim has never held true to it being a duelist. He's always just outmaneuvered his opponents. Case in point, to look at what is it called? Dark Imperium book, where in the beginning they talk about how Fulgrim not only outmuscled Guilliman, out-tactics Guilliman, but it was only at the end of it that Guilliman realized how much he screwed up in underestimating Fulgrim.
And that goes against the first rule of warfare. The first rule of warfare is never underestimate your opponent, and Guilliman forgot that.
Yeah, Gilliman being Alexander the Great. Forgot that.
I mean, having basically exploited that first rule to beat the Alpha Legion on Espandor, you'd think he'd know.
In all fairness, the Alpha Legion have never won a battle ever. They
Point
lose
taken.
at everything. They lose at everything.
Actually, who has more losses? Is it the Alpha Legion or the Iron Warriors?
Hey, I will give the Alpha Legion this. At least they're true Chaos Space Marines, because they are always the Saturday morning villain trying to summon demons.
Except for the
Which
ones praying to the Emperor.
Yeah, but for the most part. But I find it amusing that the Night Lords, the Terra Marines, haven't fallen to chaos fully. They're still a renegade. Now, that isn't saying all of them, obviously. There are some exceptions, obviously. But they're still considered a renegade chapter versus the Alpha Legion, which is a chaos chapter. But everybody thinks that it's the reverse, and everybody, assumes that the Alpha Legion is great at espionage and everything, when really they're just summoning demons.
Well, they're both excommunicate traitores. As far as the Imperium's concerned, they are traitor legions, no ifs, buts, or coconuts.
Oh yeah, they get killed on sight.
So, I don't think... I mean, some might class the Night Lords as renegade. The Imperium don't.
No, but in the Renegades and Heretics book, they're in the list of renegade. I thought that was pretty interesting.
That makes more sense then. So return to Saturnine. So, I'm assuming this surgical strike either wins despite Dawn beating Fulgrim or fails because of Dawn beating Fulgrim. One of the two. But I have to read it myself. So yeah, does this surgical strike succeed?
They do end up breaking into the Imperial Palace, but there are a number of kill teams waiting for them, including one led by Nathaniel Garrow, which we pleased to know, Alexis.
Wait, what?
Of these kill
Garrow's
teams.
in the book.
Oh yeah, Garrow walks away.
Yeah. He's
Garrow, the Great, the one that gets martyred, except for all the times when he doesn't get martyred.
Yeah, because he just doesn't die.
And Garrow almost succeeds in killing Abaddon.
Yep.
Only for Abaddon to be teleported away at the last minute.
Oh god, good thing I have plot! Wait, no, you're not supposed to have that power, that's my power!
I mean, how many times is... that's the third time not in terms of the 40k timeline, but in 3 years, that's the third time that Abaddon has had his butt kicked so bad he's had... two. Celestine and now Garrow. One on Vigilus, he won and had to run because the Vengeful Spirit was getting blown up.
They were also... The Dark Angels were also bombarding the planet. But
yeah, that's the second time Abaddon's been driven off.
He didn't get bodied by Celestine. He beat the crap out of Celestine, dealt with Creed, dealt with somebody else. There was literally hundreds of legionaries around him. And then Celestine just shot and stabbed him straight through the spinal cord in one of his hearts. And he's like, wow, if I wasn't so important to the plot, I wouldn't survive this. Teleport.
So does Garrow actually, beat Abaddon? Or is it just a case of lucky shot /
No, it's
sneak attack?
Garrow is one hell of a swordsman. He's outmuscled custodians. He's outmuscled most legionaries.
But Abaddon is regarded as probably among the best 3... if you believe the hype, he is among the top 3 swordsmen in the Legiones Astartes, barring maybe Sigismund.
Garrow almost beats him in hand-to-hand combat. And Abaddon believes he would have died if he wasn't teleported away, and he actually wanted to die at that point, because he was like, okay, I've accepted my death now. Zero was like, oh, now you teleport me away, Dark Mechanicum.
It's actually, one of the cooler parts of that book is that you get to see the emotional side of Abaddon, because it's right after that point that Abaddon realizes that his Legion doesn't actually care about him, and that he leaves the Legion. Once the siege is over, and this isn't spoilers, this is for anybody that's read the Black Legion books, Abaddon is lost in the beginning of it. He is searching for a purpose and everything, and he wants to succeed where his father has failed. So he takes the ship, he goes and hides the ship and stays on there for a few thousand years in the war. Once Kion finds him, he then finds his purpose. And with him and Kion and Legion in tow, or a few legionaries in tow, he defeats the Emperor's Children, ends the Legion Wars, and starts unifying and creating the Black Legion to properly fight the Imperium in a real siege warfare, which is the first time in 40k that we've ever actually seen a siege war is waged by Abaddon.
I wouldn't call the first Black Crusade a siege. It was a distraction for him to go and get Drachnienne.
Not the Black Crusades, not individually. What he is doing is a siege.
Oh, the Long War in general?
Yes.
Ah, right.
The only other time that we saw a siege, a proper siege, by the way, siege as described, a siege is actually a means for your opponent to surrender. You fight them enough that your opponent surrenders. The only other time that we've seen that is with the Orcs. And it was in the worst written series, The Beast Arises.
No, I still think the Primarch series is overall worse written.
Ouch!
There's like one or two good ones.
Yeah, and the rest of them are crap.
I think the worst is actually Magnus.
Don't start Rem on the Conrad Kurz novel. Don't.
Oh, no. Conrad Kurz, we don't count. That dude's entire novel is, I got beat, I'm upset, I got beat, I'm upset, I got beat.
Yes.
I am upset, now I died.
But anyway, going back briefly to Saturnine, we also do get a little bit of closure in regards to one very small subplot regarding Horus Aximond, because he and Loken finally face off, and Aximond gets killed.
Yeah, because as I remember, I don't remember Horus Rising and False Gods well enough, but were Loken and Little Horus particularly?
They were both
close?
members of the Mournival. And,
oh yeah, I knew that.
And following the events of Istvan III, Aximond had basically been haunted by Loken. Like he became very paranoid and kept seeing like Loken out of the corner of his eye when he wasn't there, and kept hearing his breathing. And it's like, oh shit, you actually are alive. I'm fucked.
Yeah, because bear in mind, Loken back on Istvan III lost, but not by much, to Abaddon. And I've spent the last 5 minutes bigging Abaddon up. So, yeah, Loken was always going to beat Little Horus. Let's be fair here.
It's nice that Loken's also gone back to his full lunar wolf armor as well.
As rightly so, because he's not a Knight Errant anymore. The Knight Errant don't exist, they're the Grey Knights now.
Well, it's interesting. Towards the end of it, Garrow gets a free pass to do whatever he wants.
And I'm assuming what he does is naff off?
I actually have reason to believe that he's one of the people who spreads the Imperial faith. Because they do talk about a Silver Knight that appears, saves the day, and then leaves.
Yeah, and we know that Garrow
is religious.
Well, I remember him seeking out Euphrati Keela. I couldn't quite remember if he converted in full to the Imperial Creed, but I know he had a close bond with Euphrati Keela due to their mutual events.
Let's just say he's one of the few Space Marine characters that's actually human. He has feelings, which is rare for Space Marines aside from Primaris.
Indeed.
Some of the Space Marines
Did
are
I die
really
again?
bad. And Remleiz died again.
So, are we ready to close up on Saturnine?
Did I die?
All I'm saying is this. And I want people to hear me out before they freak out. The fact that we know that all of the Primarchs come from one biological woman and one biological man means that there now is a reason biologically why all the Primarchs and all of the Space Marines would have to be men. And it's because the father determines the sex of the child. And if the Emperor can only produce men, there you go. Okay, I'm done now.
That would be some impressive genetic resequencing. Alright, fine. So, anything else from you on Saturnine, Rem, or are we good to go?
Have I died?
You are alive now.
I am alive again. Okay. One thing that is actually quite interesting is they actually make a call back to one of the short stories in the Silence of the Emperor anthology, which is like one of them set during the course of the Great Crusade, where there's this basically HR Giga scientist that creates human abominations who gets captured and thrown in the Imperial dungeons. One of the custodians actually goes up to him and basically, after after Euphrates Keeler had interviewed him for basically the purpose of her memoirs or whatever it was, the custodian actually requests for the scientist to go and make a weapon capable of killing Horus. But the thing is, this weapon will not just kill Horus, it will kill pretty much every single transhuman.
So basically, it's the empathic obliterator on crack.
In a way.
I don't see a problem with this at all. The Space Marines are disposable.
And the Custodes?
The Custodians are not transhuman. They are literally just magic men. The Emperor claps his cheeks and biomancies them into Custodians.
I know it's biomancy, but the definition of transhuman, I suppose, I don't know what the definition in the 40k universe of transhuman is.
I suppose it would be biologically enhanced human.
Because by that definition, Ogryn would fit into there.
Not really, because they are a different species.
Or any of the assassins that use polymorphine.
Assassins, I could give you that, yeah. Abhumans, no, I can't see that, considering they're not artificially engineered.
Yes, it just depends on how you define the word transhuman for the sake of this debate. Yeah. But interesting nonetheless. Does that
would it affect the Sisters of Silence?
No, that's a genetic mutation.
It is a process of selective breeding, though.
That's not modification. That's
eugenics.
Just selective breeding. That's eugenics, which is worse in some ways, but it is just eugenics.
Unless the original thing that started it was put into them, and then they bred it into their genome. Which would be interesting.
Well, also, as far as we're aware, the blank genome is utterly random. Now, there's talk in the Sisters of Silence White Dwarf article about specific gene lines kept secret by the Sisterhood to help keep their numbers up. So it may be that some of the sisters are genetically engineered to be blank, but it seems as though blank genetics is predominantly random. And on a galactic scale, certainly it has to be random at this point because of the way humans were spread across the galaxy at the initial point, unless like the original Terrans, before humans went to the stars, created the blank gene before Psychers broke out something like 20,000 years later, which I find unlikely at best.
Oh no, it's 40k. It's literally plot magic.
But why create a gene for something you know nothing about, unless it was a complete fluke that they created the blank gene, in which case I'm just going to take my ball and go home.
Although I do just want to point out that the Sisters of Silence stand as tall as Space Marines. I just love that.
Quite. Does this super weapon subplot go anywhere in Saturnine?
No, it seems to be setting up for like another book. Because it's like
fine.
It's only like this is your stinger for the next episode, kind of thing.
Okay, just wanted to check. Lovely. Anything else?
I think that's pretty much it.
Requiem, Inferno, Broken Saint. Be sure to read those. Celestine, read that.
I'm not asking are we done with reading, I'm just talking about are we done with the spoiler section so I can put the timestamp for the people.
Yes, it's the end for spoilers for Saturnine, yes. Okay.
Spoilers closed. So, have you read anything else, or has anyone else read anything else in the most recent time that they want to discuss?
Basically any Sister of Battle book. I've read all of them. Broken Saint was really, really good, by the way.
Yeah, because there's going to be... Are you looking forward then to the second Ephrael Stern novel?
I am. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Ephrael Stern, because they literally... They're not retconning her, which is really cool, because that means that the Dark Eldar are still the Dark Eldar of the older editions, which I really liked, because they had purpose, where the new ones, they kind of just torture because it wades off Slaanesh.
That's a purpose. staying alive.
Well, their older purpose was the more they tortured people, the longer their lives were.
That is still true.
But I really, really can't wait to see what they're doing with Ethereal Stern. We know that Ethereal Stern is mentioned quite a bit. She's in the not Gathering Storm. She's in the Psychic Awakening books. She's in the first one, which is really cool. She's with the Eldari right now, fighting alongside, oh my god, Yvraine as one of her personal bodyguards, and so is her possibly half-elf Harlequin.
I thought she just turned up to say, "Hey, we're going to help you find a solitaire."
It is mentioned at the end that all of her guards are with her, and only one of them dies, which is that solitaire. Which kind of sucks because there's this, like, about 30 minutes of reading of finding the solitaire and everything. When they finally find it and convince it to come with them, it dies instantly.
Womp womp.
So the implication, therefore, is that Stern is now, by just taking what you've said to its logical conclusion, or maybe it's a slight extrapolation, that Stern is now an agent of Yvraine.
Yes.
And thus, her purpose in Psychic Awakening 9, well, we'll see, I suppose.
Yeah, because the Psychic Awakening books are part of a series, obviously. But each one, I'm reading through them on my channel, and you can watch and listen to that, and we give cited sources for everything that we say. But one of the things in it is that all the books are not conclusive. They're all setting up for the second Psychic Awakening book. Because 8th edition is an evolving edition, the Psychic Awakenings are actually being used as balance patches for the current codexes, because they don't want to reprint the codexes over and over and over again. And there is no 9th edition. Shut up, there is no 9th edition. What you saw as the rumor was the little 8th edition book that got re-released. But anyway, Psychic Awakening is being set up as balance patches, so each one is going to have about 2 to 3 books for each faction, which I really like.
I can't see them being, like... I feel like... I agree with you, balance pass for the whole game, which is what they've done, and they've done an excellent job. That doesn't mean the plot has to be utterly pointless for the first round, because Ghazghkull versus Ragnar should have been a massive freaking deal, and it doesn't even happen in Psychic Awakening 6.
Ghazghkull versus Ragnar has my favorite line in it ever.
But it's not in Psychic Awakening 6. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, but the Space Wolves, also they retcon a lot of Ghazghkull's lore, by the way. But it's okay because it's told from the Space Wolves' perspective, and it's just like, okay, so we get it, they're really stupid. No, they're not really stupid, they just howl and give away their stealth positions and surprise the orcs, and the orcs come and beat the crap out of them.
Oh, speaking of Space Wolves, just very quickly, I read Lone Wolves the other day, and there's a scene where a Space Marine with a single grenade pretty much vaporizes an entire continent. Just a grenade.
Yep. 40k, ladies and gentlemen.
But one thing I did like about that is that they had all the Imperial Guards speaking English and all these Space Wolves were speaking Swedish, like in their speech bubbles. I thought that was a very nice touch to try and make him distinct, try and accentuate the, for lack of a better term, the alienness of the Astartes. I thought that was a nice touch.
Does the favored son of the Space Wolves appear there, Wolfman Yifson?
No.
Or Olaf Olafsson, son of Olaf Olafsson?
No.
I wish they would drop this Space Wolves stupid Thorabu aesthetic and actually make them Norse.
Yeah, I'd be stepping on the squat's toes a bit too much.
They're not even in existence. Well, they are, obviously. They are still in existence. They're a playable faction in 30k, and everybody forgets about that.
And they're in Necromunda.
They're in Necromunda. They appear in Blackstone Fortress, which is one of my favorite because the guy's a little jerk.
I thought in Blackstone Fortress that it was Rattlings.
No, the Rattling Twins do appear, and they're dealing with the Ogren Mafia that's on Precipice.
Yeah.
Blackstone Fortress is some of the best written fluff ever, by the way. It is so funny. Also, the Zote is just the merchant from Resident Evil 4.
Oh, well, did we talk about the fact that Blackstone Fortress is getting a second book? Did we mention that earlier?
I didn't mention it
because it's the ending of it. I'm so sad.
basically, so Blackstone, I didn't mention it because it seemed just like to be the tie-in novel to the new expansion, so it didn't feel like it was worth mentioning. Sorry.
It's worth mentioning. Damn it.
Sorry.
Kirk
all
is
right.
one of my favorite characters. Listen to the audio drama for Blackstone Fortress. One of my favorite lines is, "You represent my household." "I represent nothing." "No, actually you do. You signed a contract." "Oh, what is that?" Just him talking to the Kroot. The Kroot is my favorite.
And after they scout room full of Urgles, and the crew's just sitting there eating one of the, his, guard's arms. It's like, what are you eating? Nothing.
Nothing.
It's certainly not your friend's
my favorite
arm.
is, in the audio drama, again, one of the scenes that I really love, the Kroot looks at a bunch of dead guardsmen, and Drake is like, "Do not touch... Frick! Get that out of your mouth!" And he's like... And they actually do the eating noises, and it's hilarious. And then Greg, drops it for a second and is just like, "How do you expect to evolve if you are so limited by the deaths of your others? Their courage, their honor, their memories need to live on." And it's like, whoa, hold up! That is the coolest thing that Kroot has ever said. And Drake is just like...
has ever said.
And Drake is just like, "Under my employment, you will not touch or eat any Imperial servant." Why? Because
I feel like this is the same conversation that the Kroot have with the Tau about every week. About why don't you let us eat the Tau?
Yeah. And it's really cool because Greg is actually this really in-depth character that barely talks. But when he does, everything he says is really either funny or really insightful on the Kroot race.
Yeah, because I feel like... Oh, sorry, go
Oh,
on.
no, that's pretty much it.
It's just because I think with the Blackstone Fortress, the novel in particular, everyone sort of got obsessed with the fact that what Man of Iron, and thus everything else kind of got swept under the carpet.
You know what my favorite part about that Man of Iron is? 1, the Rattling Twins know it's a Man of Iron. 2, everybody knows it's a Man of Iron. 3, it mentions that the Void Dragon of Mars is not the Omnissiah, and he's met the Omnissiah, and the Omnissiah would be very disappointed.
Yeah, that line got everyone's attention, I remember that.
And 4, he gets kidnapped. And they never explain what happened to him, and I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened to UR? Where did he go? Oh no, he just got kidnapped by the Ogren Mafia. Why are we not exploring the Ogren Mafia?
Good to know.
Or the tech priest that's just a fat homeless guy who just has a mechadendrite going like this. "Yeah, whatever, get me one of those big bugs." "Why?" "Oh, it seems like a cool idea." The book is just so good, you guys. Oh my god.
Are we just going to ignore the bear servitor called Rug?
There is that. Or the fact that Captain Can Opener has the sassiest New Yorker attitude I've ever heard, and I love it.
So, in essence, what we're saying is, if you want to just read pure old school 40k with a bit of new school sprinkled in to make it not obsessively ridiculous, go read Blackstone.
Yeah, definitely check out the Blackstone series.
It's still ridiculous, but in a good way.
Yeah, because it seems like old school humour really with new school writing.
It's one of the things that I like is it's not just the typical garbage British humor, but it's a mix of different styles of humor. I knew that would get you. But it's a mix of different styles of humor and culture clashing, which I really like. You have the aspects of American humor in there. You have Nordic humor in there, and you have British humor. No.
American humor is yelling and British humor is sarcasm. That's basically if you
British humor is what you guys believe is sarcasm.
It's the lowest form of wit, and we never said it was. We never said that we were particularly highbrow with our sarcastic wit. It's just cutting remarks. Look, that's what we do.
All I'm saying is this is why we kicked your butt in World War III. Just kidding. No, but it also has the stoic humor of the Nordic people, like Icelandic humor, which is some of my favorite humor now that I know about it. And their jokes, holy cow, are they dark, evil, and hilarious.
Fair enough.
But I am absolutely enjoying the Blackstone series. I love all of the new 40k lore for all of the living saints. Remleiz, you're wrong. They're not demons, by the way. They're physical. I'm just going to say that. Wrong. But, no, I really love what they're doing with the whole saints aspect, with the actual guard being competent. They're doing more explorator fleets with the Mechanicum, and we're getting actually like really good stories from different perspectives. Like the first Psychic Awakening book is told exclusively from the Eldari perspective.
Because it's only got Eldari in it.
Well, yeah, but if you look at like things like the Eldari Codex, that's still written from an Imperial perspective.
Touche.
So we do get to see some of these things that I really enjoy. Like, we're reading through Lost and the Damned right now, which has some of the best Dark Angel lore in it.
I mean, that's not setting a very high bar.
Well, that's because you guys don't understand the Lion. The Lion is such an in-depth character that I absolutely love. I loved all of his books.
Oh, he's interesting. I from what I understand, he's just not been written very well.
The Lost and the Damned, wasn't that a Siege of Terror novel, so the Dark Angels weren't in that one?
Yep. Also, the one thing I don't like is...
Hang on, you just said it was the best Dark Angels lore ever, and they're not even in it. Hang on.
No, I'm talking the Lost and the Damned, the Psychic Awakening book.
Oh.
Ritual of the Damned.
Oh, is it Ritual? It is Ritual of the Damned. I'm dumb, sorry.
Right, I was going to say, you completely lost us there.
Sorry, that was my mistake. There's so many blank of the Damned in 40k that it's really hard to keep track of all the names. That was my bad. But I don't like that the new character's name is
Lazarus.
Lazarus. I get it. It's another biblical reference, like all of the Dark Angels titles. But I don't like it because it's not a fallen angel. Like, all of the Dark Angels are named after angels that have fell from heaven. Belial, Samael, Ezekiel, and Azrael all fell from heaven.
Army's thinking it's more of a DC reference because Lazarus and the Lazarus Pit, because he was basically reborn as a Primaris or something stupid like that.
Well,
Lazarus
the Lazarus Pit is also based off of Lazarus, who was resurrected by Jesus.
Well, not resurrected, but healed. But same principle. The main reason I think with Ritual of the Damned, because Psychic Awakening 5 actually has like little snippets of text that relate, like Vox transmissions and stuff from all the different...
I love the Vox transmissions.
And in Psychic Awakening 5, like, I didn't want to read 4, basically because A, didn't have a faction I played in it, and B, it was going to bury Magnus. Because Magnus was not allowed to win, because A, chaos, and B, if he wins, then something absolutely diabolical happens. And C is the Psychic Awakening, no one's allowed to win.
Has Magnus
so it's
ever
going
won?
to bury Magnus. But it's interesting with what they said, because it basically confirms that Magnus now has Grey Knight Gene Seed. Which, okay, that's an interesting plot point. They've got away with that now. But I admit, I don't care about the Dark Angels. They're just... I find the Ravenwing and the Hexagrammaton, the Deathwing interesting, but the Dark Angels, despite the fact that the Lion story is interesting and the whole Fallen aspect...
I love the Dark Angels. I
just find it incredibly bland. I'm sorry. I just do. I find it really bland. The other Angels, though, I'm trying to segue. I find
oh my god, can we talk about the Blood Angel Psychic Awakening and how bad it was written? The Tyranids lose is the first paragraph, and then the rest of the book is the Tyranids also lose, and the Tyranids lost, and the Tyranids lost, and they lost some more.
Dark Angels took some casualties. Is what GW does.
But the worst part is it picks up from the devastation of Baal and never once mentions a demon.
Because they're all gone and Baal Primus was blown up.
No. The devastation of Baal is happening in the Psychic Awakening book.
It can't, because Seth and Mephiston are there, and they're on Baal during...
No, that's only in the later parts of the book. In the beginning of the book, they have an entire story about Baal before the Tyranids came, Baal during the Tyranid invasion, and then Baal's recovery. So the devastation of Baal happens in this book. And they even make direct reference to it happening.
Presumably, but they never therefore, this is the censured Imperial account that's not going to mention the fact that Baal was overrun by demons for a bit.
Yeah, it bugs me that they don't even mention anything to do with it. Like, not even in one of the little sentences that's not related too much to the story. They're just like, it's gone. And I'm like, you dicks. I like that story.
Well, the reason I want to talk about Blood Angels is because I finished off Mephiston Revenant Crusade, and I'm currently working my way through City of Light. And one of the things that happened, and I read Revenant Crusade several weeks ago, before I got sick and had to miss the previous podcast, so excuse me if I'm a little rusty here. But basically, between these two books, you realise that Mephiston is so OP that he is like on another, like, you think that there's a scale, and there's a scale
and
above
then
a
there's
scale.
Mephiston.
And then there's Mephiston. This guy can possess Eldari.
Yes. Actually, that's not a thing that's out of the question. That's in some other books as well.
But, he can sit in his room on his ship and possess an Eldari whilst feeding them the fall in their head to annoy them so that he can reach into their mind and grab more information.
So do you want to know the 2 psychic powers that he's using?
Telepathy and possession.
No, the 2 psychic powers that he's using is telekinetic link and puppet master.
But across the void of space.
Yes.
Whilst having a natter with the navigator and his fellow librarians.
Yep.
I mean, in fairness, it's not as stupid as, say, that instant when Jarl Stormcaller fell asleep and got possessed by the spirit of the Thousand Sun.
Oh, I'm not saying it's stupid. I'm just saying that he is ridiculously OP. That's all I'm saying.
What about Kion, who carried a spaceship, an Imperial-class battle barge, through space-time into the warp, and then hurled it at faster-than-light speed.
That was hilarious.
At the Emperor's children.
Oh, I'm not saying that there aren't other OP psychers. I'm just saying, I've not read that, and admittedly, that had gone out of my head. But
and I do want to say this for the people listening. Psychers in 40k are extremely dangerous. They are extremely powerful. Think of like a Jedi or a Sith user with all of the powers of every single one of them forever, but no control. That's why Psychers are hunted down, captured, either taken and used as batteries, trained, or taken into the Inquisition. Or they're captured and used by the forces of chaos, or they literally can't control their own powers and erupt, and one Psyker can damn an entire world to a demonic invasion, as seen in the Demon's Codex.
Yep, most people, at least conceptually, are aware of how OP Psychers are, and certainly how dangerous they literally the Imperium never shuts up about it.
There was also one Psyker who ended up blowing up an entire planetary system by accident.
Yep.
Probably
just because they sneezed and went bang. Whoops.
Quite. But
that's why the Scholastica Arcana is so important. That's why you need psi focuses. That's why your Psychers need to be watched.
Quite. But to pull back to Mephiston, so I'm going to talk about Revenant Crusade first. Basically, the plot where I left it when I was last on the show talked about the fact they'd gone to this Necron world and used diplomacy to sneak their way onto the planet. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but there are humans there somehow, and the Necron Pharaon is the leader of essentially a suicide cult. He's trying to activate this device called the Orchestrion in order to transform and ascend his Necrons into beings of light, but they can't do it, so the Cryptex use it primarily as a power booster. It's linked to all the Necron troops, makes them never rust, it makes them more powerful, it makes their weapons more charged up, and it's generally a bad time. And what the Orchestrion is, essentially, is, as Mephiston explains it, it's attuned to the, in his own words, musica universalis, sort of the universe's song, almost. And
in the words of Sigma from Overwatch, the universe sings to me.
You
guys are not going to get the reference.
I do get the reference. But
you play Overwatch? We should play together.
Play it? No, I haven't got a powerful enough computer, but I'm conceptually aware of it. But the Orchestrion itself is able to essentially cast out a blank aura around it, and that's the source of Mephiston's warp blindness around this area, because the Orchestrion is in the way. And yet the only way to activate the Orchestrion is psychic ability. You psychically charge it up, which is why the Necrons couldn't use it. So Mephiston charges it up and manipulates it, since it's linked to every single Necron on the planet, to kill every single Necron on the planet. And it's done in the space of 4 pages, as he argues with this external cryptech, who's not linked to the Orchestrion, and sort of is a self-professed, super genius and all that rubbish. But it shows how mentally sharp Mephiston is, that he can just out-talk and outwit a cryptech and just casually brush him off. Like, oh yeah, I'm smarter than you, and I'm going to explain why I'm smarter than you and how I'm smarter than you, and bye, you're dead now. It's quite impressive. But the subplot of the book is probably the interesting one. Like, Mephiston being OP and doing OP stuff is cool, but the plot goes to a sub-librarian, an epistolary or a codicia, I forget, named Antros, who is sent to investigate a chapter living right on the edge of the Great Rift, but who have not gone nuts. Now, this book takes place before Mephiston gets Primaris, and I think City of Light does too. Has he? He might have been Primaris by City of Light. I'll have to double check. But Antros goes to meet this chapter, and they seemingly are able to becalm the warp around them through the use of these mantras, this sort of walking the path with mirrors they have in their chambers, and by repeating these mantras of we dream, dreaming, dreamed, and all this stuff, they're able to becalm the warp around them. And Antros is super hyped up by this and runs off to tell Mephiston. The sting, it's all a ploy by Tzeentch, and as soon as Antros leaves, the entire chapter is essentially corrupted and wiped out by Tzeentchian demons who have been manipulating them the entire time. And City of Light is essentially a Tzeentchian demon prince, basically baiting Mephiston and leading Mephiston along a merry dance in order to damn and corrupt him because of what Mephiston is. So I'll have to get through the rest of City of Light to see where it goes, because they're currently about to go. Actually, no, they've just been sidetracked by the whole possessing Eldari business, but they're about to go and find essentially a route through the rift via the medium of some sort of great beast that seems to be part warp, part not. And it also includes another conversation with the Octocalvariae. That's it, the Octocalvariae, which is the demon creature, whatchamacallit, informant that's kept trapped on Baal all the time, and that Mephiston goes and has a chat to now and then. So yeah, that's where I'm up with Mephiston, and it's cool stuff, and I've talked for far too long, so I'm going to let the other people in now.
So have you guys talked about the Primaris and having Chaos Gene Seed yet?
We haven't, well, I don't, we know that Bile's got some. It's on his model.
Well, no, I mean, just the quote from the custodian from that, The War of the Spider. The heretical gene seed within your body is its own condemnation.
Oh, that could just be a call reference.
Yeah, it is a call reference for Call putting heretical gene seed into Primaris Marines. I just thought that was interesting.
Or maybe Primaris gene seed is heretical because it's not the Emperor's work and the custodians are just bashing it.
No, because the custodians are the ones that hand it out. They have an entire division of custodians that go and give the... Yeah, so I don't think that they all think that, but we do know that the custodians all think independently and act independently.
Yeah, so it's hard to say whether that custodian just thinks the Primaris are a heresy that should not exist, or whether those Primaris carry heretical gene seed. I think it's too early to say for certain.
It's just the way that it's said, the heretical gene seed within your body, because he's referencing the entire chapter of the Brazen Drakes, which is a made-up chapter that GW made up to kill. They
or
did
to be
it with
Bile's
the
allies in War of the Spider, possibly.
Yeah, they did it the same with what is the other one? Wow, what is that really dark stone? The obsidian jaguars in the last book, where they're just a chapter to die. They were a Space Wolf successor, which was cool.
But they're just jobbers.
Yeah, they were just literally put in to die. Which I kind of hate that GW does. I kind of wish they did have the gall to just say, oh, here's the 5th and 6th company that fell to chaos. We killed them. Of the Ultramarines or the White Scars and actually did it with one of the real chapters and not just, or some of the Forge World chapters, because nobody gives a crap about them.
I think part of it is, let's say you turn the Ultramarines 5th and 6th company, they all have names. At least their companies are named, their commanders are named, their roles in their chapter are named, and if you obliterate them, you've got to rebuild them and create a new 5th captain and a new 6th captain. And that's a lot of writing. With that. And also it would probably annoy a lot more people as they collect that army to say, wait, you mean to say I've spent my entire life collecting this 5th Company Ultramarines army, and you've just turned them into traitors and blown them all up? What?
Well, let me ask you this. What color are the shoulder pads of the 5th Company of the Ultramarines?
If I just remember, it's white, gold, red, green, blue?
Green is 4th Company.
Yeah, so I went down the list. So 1 is white, 2 is gold, 3 is red, 4 is green. I think 5 is blue?
The reason that I say that is nobody actually knows off the top of their head.
I just did it. Never mind. Yes, I see your point.
Yeah. You take some of the chapters that have like little to no lore, even though they're founding chapters, and do it to them.
I can see the argument. I can definitely see the argument. But I get it either way. There's enough chapters out there who are small enough that you can do it to, that you don't need to invent them without harming the big boys. I think leaving the front 9 and the main second founding chapters alone is probably right, just because they're too famous to fall. But
I wouldn't say something like the Nova Marines should fall, obviously, or the Star Phantoms, but something that GW should get rid of, like some of the older chapters that are relatively meaningless, or chapters that haven't been brought into the lore in quite some time, like the Mantis Warriors.
Well, funny enough, they did do something like that within Spear of the Emperor, because the Star Scorpions, who are like the predecessors of the Mentors, like the original bearers of the color scheme and the chapter number. In the old lore, they just said that they just basically just went to extinction because reasons. But in the book, they actually reveal that they actually fell to chaos and became a chaos warband called the Pure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think I remember. I did a bit of research into the Pure at one point. So you've been reading Spirit of the Emperor, I take it?
Yes, I have.
That's a really good book,
by
the way.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It's ADB, what did you expect?
I felt so bad for Lehman Russ. Oh my god, that scene when he just has the spear through his brother, and he's just like, please, don't make me do this.
That's Wolf's Spear.
Yeah, and then Abaddon has that moment where he's just like, nah, dude, I'm actually evil. And
different
Lehman
book.
just is like...
Different book. That's Wolf's Spear, not Spear of the Emperor.
Oh, sorry. Wolf's Spear. Again, 40k names. They're all the same.
Spears the Emperor was that one with...
Oh, yeah, that's Aaron Densky-Bowden's homebrew chapter.
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
The one we had as a Twitter
really
tirade complaining because people kept saying, it's a trident, actually, not a spear. So a trident is a spear, you muppets.
But yes.
Well, it's kind of like saying a poleaxe is a spear. You're correct.
Correct
enough. It is a spear. It's also a poleaxe.
Correct enough. So, what is there about Spear that we would be worthy of discussing? Or is it just a good book, go read it?
Well, there is that.
Good book, go read it.
But one thing that was quite interesting, because the Celestial Lions appear in this book, and one thing that was quite interesting is that...
Wait, are they extinct?
Not yet, technically. They're close to it,
I thought that they went extinct on Armageddon.
No,
remember
there's
in
about
the book
300
Dark
Marines
Imperium,
left.
Remember in the book Dark Imperium, they clap their hands and bring back dead chapters.
But here's the thing. While the chapters on the other side of the Great Rift, not every chapter received actual Primaris Marines, but they did get the information on how to make their own. The Celestial Alliance never actually got that information. They actually did get it off the they had to actually get it off the Emperor's Spear chapter in order to make their own Primaris Marines. Because they were never given the technology.
Yeah, because there was a reason that the Celestial Lions were...
They pissed off the Inquisition, basically.
Yes, that was it. I thought that they would have been left and condemned to die. It makes sense that the Inquisition would... Yeah, which makes sense as to why they wouldn't get the Primaris upgrade, because the Inquisition would just say, nope, they don't get any.
Especially considering the fact that, there's that one scene when...
Some Inquisitors. Remember, not all Inquisition thinks the same. They're
True.
all independent agents.
Correct, but that one will have, or that group will have been able to say to the Officio of the Justicarum, no.
And then another group can say yes.
Either way, Celestial Lions are still on pretty bad terms, considering that, big meeting between, the Emperor's Spears and the Celestial Lions, and that one mentor sent to monitor the Emperor's Spears. It's like, oh yeah, you're all going to have, get together and we're going to fight the Pure. And, oh no, my head's just been cut off by a Kalidas assassin.
Yay! Wait, no.
Yeah. Turns out, one of the mentor's Thralls was a Kalidas assassin in disguise. Whoops.
One of the funny things about assassins, one of my favorite nods to them, it doesn't actually have an assassin in the book, but it makes a nod to him, is in it's either the Eye of Night or the Shroud of Darkness, the audio dramas, but the one with Greyfax. I always get those two confused.
I think. Or that's the one where she... No, hang on, that's the one where you...
It's the one where she takes a road trip. It's the one where she takes a road trip with some Grey Knights and finds the guy that died at the end of Battlefleet Gothic 1, who's bound his soul to Aegis armor and keeps fighting. But in the book, Greyfax walks up to the Imperial Palace and says, "Let me in." And the custodian says, "No, prove that you're Greyfax." And she's just like, "Are you serious? I am an Inquisitor. You will abide by my authority." And he just goes, "We both know that polymorphine is a thing." And she's like, "Oh, right, here's some blood."
Fair enough.
It's a cool nod to the fact that assassins are everywhere.
I'm an Inquisitor, I can say this into your mind.
Oh, that reminds me. Actually, sorry, I'm jumping back to City of Light for a second, but there's an interesting thing where the Navigator and Mephiston have a psychic conversation, but the Navigator can't talk. It's like, physically can't talk. It's just kind of interesting. Sorry, carry on.
Have I died again?
That's actually really cool.
Fucking Discord.
No, you're about.
Sorry.
Right, where do we get to? Because I didn't hear most of that.
Just Navigator having psychic conversation with Mephiston, but too mutated to talk physically. That was just a side comment. Back to Spears.
Yeah. One thing that's quite interesting is that the Mentor is constantly referred to as a false Scorpion, which I thought was a nice touch, considering that, the chapters... Because the Emperor Spears, the Celestial Lions, and the Star Scorpions were basically all tasked with guardians of one particular region of space. And so they actually made their own symbol in this regard, which was a manticore holding a spear. Nice touch, a lion, a scorpion, spear, blah, blah. But since the Star Scorpions have basically been wiped out, turned to the Pure, the fact that the Mentors now have the Star Scorpion's colour scheme is like, you're a false Scorpion. Which is a nice little touch, nice little insult.
Yeah.
I like it.
And also, the Mentor actually goes through, he actually crosses the Rubicon Primaris during the course of the book. And they describe the process.
Plot armor.
They describe the process, and you can actually hear his bones growing, because his servant's just sitting there next to him, and every now and again she keeps hearing this creak, creak. She turns around and realizes it's actually his bones growing.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all.
I was just going to say that.
That's the one of the few things in 40k that I absolutely adore is the body horror.
Oh, and that also reminds me, one thing that was really interesting about the Emperor Spears chapter in particular. Right, so how pretty much, in every single Space Marine chapter which has, a human population, the natives basically saying it's a great honour to join the Space Marine chapter, yeah?
It's certainly true for some, like the Space Wolves.
It's seen as...
And Ultramarines.
Yeah. It's seen as a curse for those on the Emperor Spears homeworld, because basically they view them as the condemned. So
Well,
basically,
they're
like,
going to go off and die. So
yeah, but basically, like, all the native tribes, whenever they see an Emperor Spear walking past, they'll basically instinctively, like, hide, the male children, like, cover their eyes, like, don't look at it, otherwise you'll be spirited away. And I thought it was really nice, and you got some of them, like, saying curses to them as they walk past, or like spitting at them and stuff like that. And it's like, what? That's actually a really interesting way of looking at it, because we always see it as being like, it's a great honor to join the Sky Warriors. So it's a nice change of pace to actually see things like it's a bad thing to join the Space Marines kind of thing.
I think it's
interesting tie-in.
Yeah,
interesting tie-in. It's either in the book Mark of Faith or Requiem Inferno. I cannot remember, but there's a nod to the sisters as they walk by people aboard a ship, and the people aboard the ship hide when the sisters are nearby, and they're just like, they eat men, they kill people. All they do is torture and burn and murder people. They're monsters. And I was like, I really like that, since they're reveled in other books as the holy nuns and everything, but in some people view them as monsters.
Yeah, and certainly with the sisters, I can certainly see it, because in our world, they have a reputation for pyromania and mass murder. So I can understand that being a case for some to see them that way. And with the Space Marines, I don't know if the Marines themselves are viewed, well, with revulsion, or whether it's a case of they're hated because they take the kids. Like, it's like they are essentially kidnappers, literally. They steal children away from their families in order to turn them into... Oh my God,
they're Driftblooms.
You know what? I didn't quite hear it. I'm not even going to respond to it, because I didn't quite get it. So, but they come along, they steal children from their families in order to turn them into these indoctrinated, massive killing machines whose sole purpose is to kill stuff and then die when appropriate. I can completely understand, especially if the spears don't engage with the populace and actually, make a difference to the world, and they may or may not, why they'd be hated. I can totally see it. At least, well, in theory.
Yeah.
And Remstead.
Yeah, probably.
Lovely.
Have you got the stick of poking?
Fucking
poke him a
Discord.
few times.
Rem is having a lot of technical difficulties today, and we apologise for that.
I don't know why I'm having so many issues. I'm just going to blame it on Discord, on Virgin Media, on the fact that the builders are still working non-stop for some reason next door. I'll blame it on the dog. I don't know. No, I'm not going to blame it on the dog. That's
You have
unfair.
a dog?
Hmm?
You have a dog?
Say that again, sorry, I didn't get that.
Did you say you have a dog?
Yes.
Show me a picture.
You know I have a dog.
Why is that not a thing? I love dogs.
You know I have a dog. You've seen the picture of him before.
Yeah, I want to see another one.
Oh, dear.
See, Rem, this is the kind of stuff you should be sharing on your social media. Yay! He's adorable.
Yes, he is.
Is that a border collie?
Malamute.
Malamute. Okay.
He was the runt of the litter.
Yaw. Anyway, me gushing over animals aside, that's pretty much exclusively what I follow on Twitter, by the way. Like, I shifted my whole social media away from, like, watching a lot of 40k YouTubers to tiny homes and animals. It's just, my Twitter is nothing but dogs doing silly things or cats doing silly things. I love it. Ah.
Fair enough. So anything else on Spear for now?
That's about it for now.
Aaron Dinsky Bowden retweets everybody who shows their spear army. Just saying, if you want to get ADB to retweet your stuff, show him your spears of the Emperor.
That's one thing I did like, because I've got the collector's edition, and one thing I did like is that you do actually have transfers for a spears army, and as well as chapter tactics. I thought that was a really nice touch.
We will never know what that other thing is.
What other thing?
You cut out as
Oh,
soon as
God.
you said, and the
You
other
got to
thing
transfers and blank.
Chapter tactics.
there we go. Oh yeah,
Yes.
they're actually a choosable faction in 8th edition.
Indeed.
The chapter tactics are pretty decent, if I remember correctly.
They're pre 2.0 though, so.
I mean, they're not as good as like Ultramarines, but Ultramarines are going to be the meta now.
Well, they're pre 2.0, so they can't obviously be as powerful because they don't have the same versatility that the new ones do. But here we are.
Well, they did get all the updates to it. All subsequent chapters did.
Fair enough. Right, we've been going for an hour and 40, and we haven't even hit the questions yet because we've spent so long rambling about one thing and another.
I'll be honest with how my internet's being. I don't know if I'll be able to get through a single question.
That's fair enough. That is totally fair enough because I realise that with the amount of rem dropping that we've had, it's been very much two people rambling at each other quite a lot. Not that that's a bad thing, just an observation.
So, same as the old times.
For people who like rem-heavy episodes, I'm sorry, blame the internet.
Rem-heavy episodes.
Episodes where Rem talks a lot, because there are sometimes...
No, just thinking about Rem, but just, like, bigger. Sorry, I'm dumb. Excuse me. I haven't slept yet.
When Animaticus returns, there are going to be so many memes.
Yeah, what's that dude been up to?
I don't want to give too much away, but we know we've had conversations with him, and there are plans. I will say no more than that because I don't want to spoil anything. I haven't seen any official work. I don't know anywhere it's going to be ready in any length of time, but they will be back, and when they do, they will be back on the podcast. That's all I will say.
Nice. That's good.
Because we still get comments to this day just like hyping up the intro, which they did with the sort of... I always forget the theme, the
Metal
reference.
Slug.
Isn't it like a 16-bit game?
Metal
People
Slug.
make a very... Yeah, Metal Gun or something
Metal
like
Slug.
that. That's it,
Metal Slug. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always the reference people make for the intro. And we still get comments about it today, even though it's now something like... Maybe not 40 episodes old. Or
It's
maybe
been
it is
87 years. Out of nowhere, left field Titanic reference.
I was meaning how old the intro is.
I know that was a joke.
Fine. All right.
You know what? I'm giving it to Rem. That was a good joke.
Yep. Well played. Yep. You've done me there. Dear. So if we're not doing questions for the sake of Rem's internet, is there anything else to discuss, or are we ready to close house?
Well, I mean, if you wanted, you could grab them.
Good point. Like, hang on. Why am I telling Rem to do a thing? I could just as easily do the thing. Yeah. Sorry.
See, this is why you need a sarcastic American around.
No, this is why you just need less organisation and just regimentedness. Which, okay, chaotic American would do that. I'll have a quick scan through and see if there's any highlights that aren't just kitten memes.
Oh yeah, on a side note, Thunder, we're still waiting for the Dawn of War 2 review. You have 4 episodes, is it 3 episodes left?
This is 96, so 4.
4 episodes left, okay.
Hang on, I need to scroll all the way down. I was
don't
wondering
get the
why there were so
reference.
few. Come on.
Also, I bet you're incredibly excited about the fact that you're going to have episode 100.
It's... I mean, to be fair, if it weren't for the fact that you had to take an episode off, I was going to get episode 100, and then I lost it because you were off for an episode, which was the Valrak episode, and then...
You were off for episode.
Actually, that's convenient. And then I had to take an episode off because, well, I was unwell, so it's what it is. Right, I'm going to very quickly skim through the questions and see if there's 2 or 3 particularly interesting ones. How much do you know about Imperius, the entity known as Imperius?
I do not, unfortunately.
Okay. Because there's a question about Imperius, but
Oh, Imperius,
I don't
what?
know it well enough.
Go on, Imperius.
So it says, as Imperius bears a withered appearance, is it possible it's taken the likeness of Malcador, in essence?
Fun enough, that's the headcanon I do like, considering that the mask it's wearing is one of intense agony, and considering that Malcador, his final moments were on the Golden Throne, and that's where he would die. Obviously he'd probably be in immense pain while doing so, if the Emperor's undergoing immense pain whilst being on that. I like to do, that is my personal headcanon, that Imperius is basically Malcador ascended to demonhood in a way. It's probably wrong, but it's a nice little bit of headcanon.
Yeah. Okay, this one should definitely get us to 2 hours just with arguing about it. What battle scene in the 30 or 40k universe is the most memorable?
Like the Siege of Terra?
Absolutely none of them. Like, I know them by name. I think Istvan would be the biggest one.
5 or 3.
But to be honest, I don't read... This is going to sound really weird. I don't read 40k for battles.
No, that's not that weird. I admit, I'll read the fight scenes and I find the fight scenes interesting, but I really struggle to, in my head, create like a map and a chronology and a sort of visualization of what's going on in a fight scene, because there's so much going on and they're very chaotic, especially in mass battles, that I can't keep tabs of everything. So,
Well, like, one of the biggest things is I've read actual like war books. I've read Tom Clancy books which describe battles perfectly down to a T. 40k, they don't know how to write war, and I know that sounds weird. They don't know how to write the in-depth war analysis that you would come to expect from a war novel, like something written about World War II or something.
because they're
Instead-
not war novels, they're sci-fi novels.
Well, even still, they should understand how a battle is waged. Like, why the hell do we have 100 Marines shoulder to shoulder fighting 100 Marines? Just artillery that.
I mean, in fairness, I think the Gaunt's Ghost books do a decent enough job. As far
But
as
that's
40K.
because it's squad. It's not an actual, like, full-out battle scene. They can do squad v squad really well, and I really like those. Some examples are from the Necromunda books. Those are really good. But GW can't write war without it sounding like everybody's shoulder to shoulder just smacking each other with a sword. And it's like, even medieval battles were not like that.
Yeah, I think definitely the most famous battle scene would have to go to, I would say, Istvan 5. Like, Istvan 3 is most known for its virus bombing. There's a fight that happens afterwards, but it's not known for it. Istvan 5 is the fight scene at the moment. Now, when they write Horus v the Emperor, that changes. They've got to get that one right, and that one will go down in history. Either for good or for ill, that fight will go down in history, I think. But as stands, I think Istvan 5 is hard to disagree with.
I could agree with that.
Okay, is there any here quickly? Is there any official confirmation that all the Primarchs had at least some degree of psychic powers? Or is it
No.
just a theory?
It is just a theory.
Don't make the reference.
What reference?
Never mind. Right.
Wait, does Remleiz say something about that?
Just a theory. Never mind. Never mind.
Wait, are you actually making a quote or not? I'm really confused.
There is a reference there, but it's not worth it. It's really not worth it.
Okay.
Sorry, I cut out.
I just got really confused for a second. I'm like, wait, what? Am I doing something bad? I don't want to do something bad.
No. It's
What did I miss? I cut out.
An accidental just a theory that didn't go anywhere and got confused. Never mind. The question was...
it's kind of like, just to get back to that question itself, one of the things that a lot of people headcanon is the souls. How souls are so important to the Primarch clones when the official writers said that they're not.
Yeah, so the official question, in case Rem didn't hear it, is there any confirmation anywhere that all the Primarchs were to some degree psychic, or is it all just fan theory? That was the question.
Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that was mentioned in the Jagatai Khan Primarch novel. That way, like in the scene where Jagatai, Magnus, and Sanguinius are all sitting down having a conversation on Baal.
Well, what they mention there is that everybody has a connection to the warp. It doesn't inherently mean you're a psyker.
I mean, if we're being technical, all humans have some degree of psychic potential, but not psychic powers, which is what the question asks.
Yeah. Because any sentient life that has any type of, sentience has a presence in the warp and can be a conduit. But to actually do psychic powers, no, I would say that under half of the Primarchs have psychic abilities. Because if you break down the Scholastica Psychana, having visions is not psychic powers. Like Sisters of Battle have visions. They are not psychers. The Primarchs can have visions. It doesn't mean that they're a psyker. It could just be foresight, or essentially a case of almost deja vu, but it's not a psychic ability.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, we do know that Mortarion was a psyker. We do know that... Not Mortarion, that was Typhus. No, my bad.
Mortarion is. He has to... or he becomes a psyker, at the very least. He has to embrace and work with what he hates, that being psychic abilities. He does.
It's okay. Everything in Nurgle hates him. I feel so bad for that dude. Plague War was just bullying Mortarion.
I mean, they've been bullying Mortarion the entire time. Typhus ditched him instantly.
Typhus in what was it, Dark Imperium literally insults him to his face, saying that you're not the favorite of Grandfather Nurgle. Nobody likes you. In fact, the Legion follows me, not you. And Rotigus is sitting there like, I think it was Rotigus. It might have been another greater demon, but it was one of the named greater demons. Is like, yo, guys, maybe you should chill. Like, Grandfather Nurgle loves all of us equally. And he's just like, no, he doesn't. He clearly doesn't love Mortarion. Oh.
Well, Typhon's been to the cauldron, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, I can hear Rem's internet coming and going, so I think we're roughly at a good point to call for time, I think, unless anyone has anything else to add.
Well, I just want to apologise for my connection issues.
Yeah, so apologies for not having much Remleiz, because his internet has been terrible. Sorry, you were in the middle of saying something there, Alexis.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine, don't worry.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay, right. In that case...
What about us?
So, that has been episode 96 of Adeptus Podcastus. A little light on the Remleiz and a little heavy on the me to make up for the fact that I was off last show. That's what Remleiz Internet was doing. It was redressing the balance in how much we talk. So, thank you very much to Alexis for joining us once again.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yep, and we will maybe see you for episode 100. We can't say too much at this point. If I speak, I'm in trouble. So... thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and we do hope you have enjoyed it. If you have any questions for us, leave them in the comments below with the word question, and assuming we don't get too distracted rambling next time, we will endeavour to answer what we can. But for now, this has been Tactica Imperialis.
This has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
Love you guys. That's all I got.
Fair enough. We'll see you all again. Bye for now.